Hello and happy Tuesday. Here we are. Today's topic is going to be pregnancy and how to keep your body and how to keep that baby as healthy as possible. There are so many normal things that we are told as a pregnant mama. And I'm just going to lay that out a little bit. What are we told? What's normal? What's common? And what can we do about it? Pain. Is pain normal during pregnancy? Heartburn, reflux, poor posture, headaches, restless legs, muscle cramps, digestive changes. It could be constipation. That's probably the most common. But it's not necessarily the only thing. It could be fluctuating between constipation and diarrhea. It could now be IBS as to what they call it. You could have the whole consistency of your stools has changed. Hormonal changes, you notice you might feel awesome. Let's just say if you were more of a anxious, depressed person, you feel like you have energy. The people that had amazing pregnancies typically had hormone challenges when they weren't pregnant because everything balanced out a little bit more. Or you can have the opposite. Feel great in non-pregnant life, and when that pregnancy comes, you tank. And not only during pregnancy and birth, but likely postpartum is a little bit more difficult. And so just going to share a little bit about what I've experienced, not personally, but personally through taking care of so many women in chiropractic, what really changes in the body, because the spine does change dramatically. And chiropractic is the tool to make sure that it changes with grace. That's kind of a weird way to put it, but make sure that it changes and continues to move. And once the brain or spine continues to move, the brain continues to fire, so that we aren't in an extremely distorted position all through pregnancy, because there's higher stress. Now we have birth on top of a higher stress situation in spine and body. And then we have postpartum as we're working to take care of a baby. I've seen this transition over the years of being in practice from one of a more natural process to a very mechanical and controlled event. And I'd like to explain a little bit about what that means. There are more resources, online, doctors, well, really online is the biggest, right? There's any Facebook group if you have any question on pregnancy. And there's so much information out there that we start to feel less in ourselves, and we start to think more outside of ourselves. And I would highly recommend that to scale that back a little bit. If you find the people that you love in terms of the information, let's just say you follow us and you know you want to make chiropractic a lifestyle for you and your family, you're going to likely follow the resources that look at how do I best take care of my whole body, not my headaches because now I'm pregnant, or not my heartburn because now I'm pregnant, but how is my body handling life and handling stress, because pregnancy is a huge load of stress on the spine. I'm just going to show a little bit about like posturally what happens. So this is our tailbone, my screen is, and this is our head, okay? And so when we're pregnant, this is where baby grows. This gets bigger, and when that gets bigger, our spine is going to start to adapt a little bit, okay? As it adapts, we're going to have a bigger low back curve. And as that low back curve happens, we're going to start to get that dip here. Now, in order for us not to tip over, because as the low back curves, you start to lean back, now you're going to compensate in the middle back. And as that body starts to lean forward up there, we're going to start to compensate up top. Now, the key to all this is, how is our brain firing based on, is our spine moving as stress starts to load? As we load here in our belly, we're going to load here. If we look at brain passing messages through that spinal cord. It's protected by the spine. When there's interruption to that, when there's not flow and when there's not movement, we're going to have challenges, pain or not. The function is going to be interfered with. Function is not going to be normal. Pain's the last thing that shows up and it's the first thing that goes. So when people talk about, I want to get adjusted because I have headaches in pregnancy, there was a stress event in your life going on in your body before you were pregnant. And now that's been exacerbated. Whether it's starting with posture in that low back, whether it's starting up here, whether it's immobility of parts of your spine. When there's immobility anywhere in your spine, your brain is not going to fire. The proprioceptors are not going to fire back up to the brain. So now instead of making the pregnancy mechanical, think of it all as one. How one thing functions is indicative of how the rest of it functions. And so we want to be, pregnancy or not, frankly, in optimal function. That doesn't necessarily mean with or without symptoms. It doesn't mean with or without pain. Pain is our signal. That's the thing that says like, whoa, what's going on in there? If you haven't had pain, but you've had dysfunction for a long time, you haven't tied the two. Most of the time, people that have pain in pregnancy had stress going on before, whether it's emotional stress, mental stress, meaning it's difficult to focus, to concentrate, it's difficult to turn your brain off. I have a little bit more brain fog than normal. I'm not really as clear. If it's that, or if it's moods, hormonal challenges, anxious, depressed, flat, zippy, I say, whatever all of those functional components are likely going to be exacerbated in pregnancy in some way. And so instead of looking at like, why does this person have headaches? I'm looking at, why is this body in a state of tension? And how can I help it go into a state of ease? That is chiropractic. And once we understand some of the mechanical things of what happens to our spine, you as a patient, as a mom, as a grandma, as a whoever is watching, will understand a little bit more about what happens to the spine, because it is a real thing. Now we have all these postural things going on in baby, right? As this gets bigger, the curve is going to get bigger. We're going to be more exaggerated. Breasts get bigger. If we're breastfeeding, even more so. Now, if we're breastfeeding, now we start to hunch over. In our post-baby rehab, we need to make sure we're taking care of our bodies as much as we are when we're pregnant, because we're growing a baby in there. It is as or more important to get your brain, spine, and body functioning the best it can after the marathon happened. Because if we don't, this exaggerated spine remains. Now we have trauma associated with it. Now we are a new mom, and we have all of these additional stressors, and naturally we're going to be even more selfless when we're a mom than when we're not a mom. We're going to take care of them before we take care of ourselves. And that's when health challenges start to pop up, because health challenges happen because the brain is imbalanced, because there's stress in that system. There's old trauma that we haven't taken care of. We have a immobilized spine that isn't firing because it's stagnant, because we sit all day, because whatever else started. That is why it is the most important to see the body as one, to see the brain doesn't work without the spinal cord, without the spine. But more importantly, headaches don't work without, aren't alone. It's not a headache thing. It's a full body thing. And the sooner you can start to take care of that body, one of the most, not important questions, one of the most common questions about babies and getting adjusted is, when should I have my baby adjusted? The best first time for that baby to be taken care of from a chiropractor is when you're pregnant. Because when your body starts to function differently, better, and with ease, baby's body will function different, better, and with ease. It's the best possible gift you could ever give your baby. And after that, obviously, right after they're born, after that traumatic event that happens between you and baby. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, I know this is very brief. It's a gross, a big way of explaining what happens to the spine, what happens to the brain. But I want to make sure you know that all of these things that happen are common, but it doesn't mean they're normal. It doesn't mean that when that doctor says, oh, this pain is normal, it's going to get worse, that it doesn't need to. There are ways to make sure your body starts to function with ease. Now, more stress on a stressed system is going to typically create more stress on that stressed system. Now, if you look at ways to relieve that stress and to create ease from the dis-ease, then you likely will start to feel different. Just kidding. You won't likely start to feel different. You will feel different because your system will start to come down. Your brain will come out of that fight or flight. It'll start to create more ease, have more connect, have more healing. And naturally, then everything is going to work better because we are one. It is not just a baby and a pregnancy thing. It's a whole brain body thing. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any questions as always.